And I'm in much thinking along those lines too. I mean, even as far as if you're interested in acting or being an actor, I think the much more viable road, and maybe it's not viable, but at least at the end of the day, you would have created something,
Right.
is to just, create your own content, even if it's a minute or
Absolutely.
two. Um, what, so you're producing videos too, correct? Like those videos that I saw
Producing
you,
what?
did you produce those or did you have someone produce those for you?
Well, what I do is I provide a storyboard. I do a storyboard for every video that I'm going to do.
Hmm.
And then these, I actually used Fiverr.
Use what?
I used Fiverr. I sent storyboards to Fiverr, and
What is
you
fiber?
familiar? Oh my gosh, Mark, you have to use Fiverr. It's wonderful.
Well, tell us.
Fiverr, okay, Fiverr is a platform where you can connect with other creatives, and they have people that do music videos. They have people that will, uh, in fact, on hair, the lady that plays the bass on the beginning of on the beginning of the song, I got her from Fiverr.
Hmm.
And your budget can be as little as, it started with it just being $5. That's how Fiverr started. You could get someone to do something for you for $5.
Hmm.
Now, of course, it's all over the map, but you can get, like I said, you can get someone to do graphic artists, graphic artwork. You can get
Hmm.
someone to do play on one of your songs. You can get someone, anything creative, anything that you can think of, someone to promote your music. Um, and by doing that, I was able to save a tremendous amount of money, because like the last time that I did a video, when you budget in for the videographer, for the editing, for the actors, for renting the space, for coming up with ideas, you come up on your own. But I mean, you can easily spend $3,000-4,000 for one video.
Hmm.
And with Fiverr, they used video clips. Are you familiar with story blocks?
No.
Okay, story blocks is where you can get a bunch of uh, video content,
Hmm.
and from the video content, you can arrange it in a manner in which you're able to do videos.
Hmm.
And so I use story blocks, I used Fiverr, and I came in. I mean, I think maybe the most I spent on a video this time was maybe $100, maybe.
Wow. Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That
Yeah,
is.
so it's something you should look at, if that's something that you want to do, or other artists. I would recommend that, because producing an album, I spent quite a bit of money producing the album. But that's another thing that I do is my budget comes from every time whatever sales I make from an album, and a portion of the sales that I make from my live performances, that's going to go into my next album, into
Hmm.
into producing my next album. So I never really know what the budget's going to be until like the end of the year, or the end of a couple of years. And Yeah, so that's how that
But
works.
whatever it turns out being, you figure out a way to make it work with whatever budget you
Exactly.
have.
That's what I mean, as an independent artist, that's what I have to do. I have whatever budget is available to me. I have to make that budget work. So,
What do you think the ingredients are that a vocalist needs to put together that will get people's attention?
well, interestingly enough, I was telling a friend that being an artist and being a creative person, I mean, you spend this blood, sweat, tears, time, energy, money, and you hope that someone will like it. So I guess the ingredient is hope. I mean, because
Oh, and I guess just
there's no
do what
guarantee.
you feel is true to you. Like you seem to have a particular message in your work, and
Mm.
one that I believe to be of love, giving love. I don't know, maybe that's too
Absolutely.
general, but you're coming from a very positive place
Mm.
in your work, which you can tell.
Mm.
How did you might have touched on this a little bit because you mentioned when you first got your first recording contract at 16, but
Mm.
how did you land your first professional singing job? And what was your
Mm.
first professional singing job?
My first professional singing job, I'm sure it was I was in a band and we did casuals. So
Hmm.
I would say probably my first professional gig was a wedding.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was a wedding.
What have been your favorite venues to perform at?
I love performing at the House of Blues,
The one in Universal City?
the one in Universal City, and the one that wasn't there one in Hollywood?
I
I
think
did
there,
both of them.
I think there,
I think there was
you
one
said
in
House of
Hollywood.
Blues, right? Yeah, there was one
Yeah,
like around West Hollywood, I think.
yeah, I did both of those.
Hmm.
And a really, really fun gig that I did was I did the London in the Park. And that was like in front of like 25,000 people. That was fun. And I also did, I performed before members of parliament in London.
Wow.
That was it was really cool because they're all very proper and all that rocks. And then when the music started, and I get crazy and I get in the aisles and I bring people up to dance with me and all this kind of stuff, and you see these very, very proper people getting up and dancing, and they start taking off their jackets and they undo their ties and everybody's having a good time. So that was a fun gig. Fun gig.
How about
Yeah.
how about least favorite venues that you've performed at and why?
My my least favorite venues have been the ones where when I was starting to do independent music, and I'd have to sell tickets, and then the people would run off with the money.
Mm, mm,
I did a lot of those in LA. A
mm,
lot.
mm.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
experience stress, or do you get nervous at all before performing? And if you do, how do you deal with that? Or have you just been doing it so long that that's not even an issue?
It's always an issue. It's an issue every single time. I am a nervous wreck, a nervous wreck. And I say to myself, why do I do this to myself? What's wrong with you? Are you crazy? I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And then I walk out and I start singing, and the audience is giving this love, and they're singing, sometimes they know the words of the songs. And then I know, and then I say to myself, this is why you do it. This is why you're crazy, but this is why you do it.
You bring a lot of people a lot of joy and happiness. You mentioned that you've also performed in less than full audiences. I remember when I saw Mary Wilson
Yeah.
perform to a less than
Mhm.
half audience at Knott's Berry Farm one year. I don't know what the heck I was doing in Knott's Berry
Oh wow.
Farm, but my takeaway from
Oh
that
wow.
was that, the audience is probably 25% or maybe less. And she gave the most
Mhm.
amazing show. I mean,
Oh
she
yeah.
you could see that those years of that Motown training, you could see all of
Mhm.
it. I mean, if you can perform that
Wow.
well with no one in the audience, just think what you're doing when you have a lot of people giving you love. How do you energize your audiences? How do you pick things up?
Well, I mean, as I've said, I perform for just one person, and if that one person is the only person in the audience, that person is going to get 100%, just like if there was 10,000 people in the audience. And what I do is I just engage with them, let them know that I appreciate them, and give them my very, very best. There's going to be some bad notes. I remember one time I was in Japan, and it was my first time trying sake,
Hmm.
right? And it was right before the show. I had a sip because I mean, for me, I can get drunk off one glass of wine. I'm not a drinker, right?
Mhm.
But I had this sake, and we were doing this great show. But this guy decided to bump me. You know, we were dancing, and he did the bump, and I flew straight
Mm.
into the audience.
Mm. Wow. He had some kind of a rumper on him, I guess.
He had some rump on him, but it was aided by the sake.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I got right on back on up, and gave the people everything that I had, and that's what I do. Good, bad, ugly. There's going to be some bad notes. I might fall. I might forget the words to a song. All those things are going to happen, but I don't let that bother me. Because if you let that kind of stuff bother you, then you're not going to be able to give a good show.